Hi everyone, it's Tracey here from Art Fibre Stitch. Today I'm wanting to talk about fabrics and different things that you can use in your textile art. This is a lovely pearly kind of one. It's got wrinkles in it. What first attracted it to me was this little bit of selvage here, where some of the threads have been distorted and pushed to one side and there were gaps in it. And I was just thinking, let's just play with that. Maybe we could do more. And that's what I do. I look at a fabric and I think, what do you remind me of? What properties do you have? Like this one here, a loose weave, a nice kind of sparkle to it almost. Very subtle though. And this selvage, I love using selvedges. Here I'm tearing some off the side there and then I'm cutting those bits and making them stand up, and all of a sudden I'm thinking that that looks like grasses to me, and I'm thinking that the whole color suggests snow on the ground. So that's one thing that's led me to this. Now this here is a stiffening. Like if you were sewing and you need to stiffen something, you can get them sometimes in different colors. This is a gray one. And I just saw it and thought, well, it's almost like paper. It's so easy to cut. It has a nice crisp edge. So I just get out my scissors and experiment with it. It could really take something exact if we wanted. You know what I mean? It's not going to fray. It's not going to move. It's just going to be as it is. So I started cutting out some what I'm thinking of as silhouettes. A tree or some grasses or what have you. And I thought, yes, that could work. And I'm thinking, well, okay, so we decided we wanted snow, a snowy landscape perhaps, and trees like that. Well, I thought they'd look good if they were underneath a gauzy layer, something that obscures them, like in winter where, if you're lucky enough, you live in a country where the leaves come off the trees. We'll play with that. But this is my third fabric. Can you see it has a little stitched pattern on there? It's actually a dandelion. It's in a silvery white, and I really liked it. So I just thought, well, let's see what properties it has. You can't see through it that well. Even though it is a sheer fabric, it's not really see-through. So anyway, I started to play and I thought, I wonder what happens if you cut around the design. I would have liked to have put something underneath it and have that shine through, but it didn't really work. You couldn't really see that. So then that led me to think, maybe I can, see what I mean here? You can't see the color. So I'm thinking maybe I can cut some bits out so that I can see something underneath it, some contrast. So here I grabbed another one and I started to cut. And can you see I've cut out little bits there around the stitching, in the blank spaces. And that stitching will hold it there. And I've managed to get some sort of contrast in there. And now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, I wonder what happens when we fray the edges. What would that do? And so that's what I did with that other one that you can see here. It's got little frayed pieces hanging off. I thought, if it's going to fray, just let it. And in fact, use that. So that was the idea. And just cutting out these little bits of the plain fabric, not the actual stitched embellishment on it. That makes it more like a lace. Anyway, this is a dandelion, but to me, I kind of thought, in the end, I thought it could be flowering. It could be a bush, could be a flowering, weed heads or something. So I have these strange and wonderful things, and I'm going to try and do something out of it. Let's have a look here how we See, if you want to cut something out in the center there, you have to almost fold it over to get your little scissors in. Have some sharp little pointed scissors, makes it easier. These aren't very good scissors, but they'll do. And can you see I'm bending it over a little bit so that I can get in there and cut out a bit in that space. I want it to be, you know, like a paper doily kind of thing. Something where you have those holes in it. So, as a start, let's just see how we can use this. There's that white fabric, and like I say, you can't really see anything much through it. You need to have a contrast behind it and something to obscure it. You see, now we're getting more like it, aren't we? So something that is see-through, something that allows us to see that as misty trees. Now what other bits can we use? Ideas are coming all the time. I do have this interesting sort of a mesh net stuff that's got sparkly threads. I've got some silk here. That's a light blue. I'm just thinking, well, snow, you know, we're very white and grey. But yes, some of those nets would look really good, the net fabric. What else? I've got this interesting fabric here. So when you see something, or when I see something that's wrinkled like that, I think of like bark on trees or contours in the land or something like that. So I'm just collecting bits and bobs. I love this stuff. I use it all the time. And it is a wrapping that is used around floristry, bunches of flowers. Maybe something dark, a contrast. But I've got a palette there of colours and textures and fabrics of different possibilities. Here's a different sheer. Still in that same colour range, isn't it? I like it. Now let's see, I'll have another look at this. With that loose weave, I'm really thinking that that could be, we could have bubbly kind of contours in our snow. I'm just going to cut a bit of a strip off to start with and just play. As I said, the properties of certain fabrics you can use to your advantage. And I did like that this did that lovely grassy thing. I think that could be very handy. You wouldn't see it unless it was on something that contrasted with it. So I'll have to be careful of that. But poking these holes in here, you know, that if we put blue or something behind that, we could get the darker bluey shadows in the snow. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, how can we use this fabric to its best advantage? These tiny scraps that we can put together to mean something. Right, there's our pearly snow kind of fabric. And the fabric that we had the dandelion on, I'm just looking at the plain fabric there, and on that selvage, on that edge, there's a really nice kind of a grassy effect as well. I find that a lot on different fabrics. So I'm just going to cut out a strip of that. Right, just get started. I've grabbed a larger piece of fabric. I'm thinking I want it to be a square shape this time. So I'm just going to, outside the edge, just kind of mark where it's going to be. Didn't show up too well. Oh well. And it's about an inch, a couple of centimeters in from that is where my picture will be. So that's a good start there. And what did we have? We had this. Does it fit from side to side? It would. So that will go in. and I can use. Where's the linen that I had that was too small? I'll cut another to draw me mark again, but look, even doing that, wow, interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to get another piece. I've got this brighter green if I want. Let's cut some of that out as well. Maybe not. Now, what colour did we use? We used that blue. I just want random kind of pieces. I don't want it to be too... Just put that under there and see what happens. Now, am I going to be able to use it if it's like very fray? Or do I need to cover that edge? It's very pretty. We do have the net, so we can do whatever we like, really. Just take that off. Oh, we had this. We have this. And what I'm thinking about is more, it's really turning into a landscape, isn't it? Can't seem to escape landscapes lately. Well, there's nothing wrong with drawing out what you want. Certainly before you start cutting. But I really enjoy just flowing with it and seeing where it goes. If you can see it. I would like some bits to suggest trunks and maybe some leaves. I don't want it to be straight at the top, so I'm cutting in at the top here, and I'm sometimes making the tops of branches, or sometimes just a fluffy kind of tree canopy kind of shape. And then here I'm cutting more bits out because the solid grey really wouldn't work for me. This reminds me of when you used to fold the paper into quarters or what have you, and cut little bits out, and you end up with snowflakes. Something like that, or paper dolls, when you'd concertina paper up and cut out a doll shape and let them hold hands. Anyway, let's have a look. So if that dark colour was on a whitish background or a light background, and then we put a gauzy kind of sheer fabric over it to obscure it, yeah, I could see that that would be, you know, like a foggy kind of morning. Popping that little bit of green underneath too, I mean, that makes it different again. So this thing is building itself as they usually do, and just using the fabrics that are suggestive of something. Here is that net, kind of glittery net. I'm just looking what happens if I put that over the grey, and it does break it up. So I could do something like that. Makes it look more lacy. I'll try another bit. Now, layering up that snow and that grassy thing. And now I've gotten out this dandelion. And what about if it was there? Then it could be trees, snow-covered trees. I think we're getting there. But originally I had thought I would put some sort of blue or something underneath that snowy fabric where we gouged out the holes, you know, so that we would maybe see a little bit of that blue because it is very pale. We could do both. And just layering them and trying different things. This is how it all comes together. And you can see here, we have the makings of a good start on a nice piece of textile art. So I hope this has been interesting for you. This is part 1. And in part 2, I'll show you what I did come up with in the end. And we'll finish this snowy landscape off. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are interested in these kind of ideas. Thanks again for watching.